Hello and welcome to another episode of Flying High with Flutter. I'm your host, allenwyma. Before we start our episode, I want to just give a quick shout out to you guys that this podcast is brought to you by Plangora, which is my consulting company, where we consult on Elixir, Rust, and of course Flutter. So if you guys have any needs in any of those technologies or just want to have a chat about any kind of possible things you want to do technology-wise, feel free to go ahead and reach out to us. Just go to our website, www.plangora.com. plangora.com, and we'll be sure to help you out over there. So now back to the show. We have a very special guest. I forgot to ask you how to pronounce your name. I believe it's Waleed Arshad. Is that correct? So that is correct. So he is a software developer, and I believe you're also a GDE for Flutter. And you just wrote a book, and I'll go ahead and be front and tell you guys directly. The book that he wrote is exactly the book that I was actually looking to write myself. And I was just talking to him about it before that he stole my idea. I'm not very happy about that, but I'm also happy that it is validated that my idea was going to be okay. But yeah, anyways, I think it's still good to have this book out there, and maybe I'll still work on mine. And, maybe you can help me review it since you already did a similar one. But in any case, yeah, your book is all about, the name is Managing State in Flutter Pragmatically. And I believe the idea is just basically kind of how to manage state within Flutter, which is always like a hot topic, right? It's basically the hottest and most controversial topic in Flutter for some weird reason. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself quickly, and then we can get started into some other questions. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. This is Waleed, and I'm from Pakistan. I'm probably the first person in my country to become a Google developer expert in Flutter. So I've been working in Flutter since, it was in beta, and working with different sort of applications here in Pakistan with local clients, with foreign clients as well. I'm also leading Flutter Karachi. Flutter Karachi is specifically a community for Flutter here in Pakistan, which is actually endorsed and supported by Google itself. So we are, registered stuff. So we do events here, we educate developers and stuff like that. Apart from this, I'm working in a blockchain-based company in the US remotely, and we, work on creating mobile apps for blockchain in Flutter. So we have a product and we maintain it. So previously I was working with traditional banks to create their mobile apps, simple front-end development. So I've been working in mobile apps since last, 6 years. Right after my graduation, I went into mobile development from Xamarin, then to Flutter. So I have been experiencing Xamarin as well for almost around 2 years. And then, we shifted to Flutter. So apart from that, I'm also a visiting faculty at IBA, which is, one of the top universities in Pakistan. I just joined them, and I'm teaching Flutter to the undergrad students. So I hope, students turn out to be good developers. So that's a little bit about me. I just wrote a book on state management. So that's a sort of a recipe book where you can find different sorts of state management techniques compiled into a single book, and a little intro about them, and then creating different sort of use cases using every technique, so that you can, actually differentiate what, in what cases, what technique should be used. So, the whole prime idea of this book was to let developers know that there is no one best state management technique. It can vary, and you need to know your product first, and then, you need to see what state management you should use. So that was the whole idea behind the book. That was the basic crux of the book. So I have been, writing it for the last 6 months, and it took around, 6 to 7 months to get it out. So that's pretty much it about me. And, let's have some more questions from you.
Yeah, sure. Actually, I found it interesting. So you're teaching Flutter in a school, right? University?
Yes.
So let me ask you a question. Are you like making double money now because of this? Because basically you can require everybody buy your book, and you use this book as your teaching material. So you're making money two ways now?
No. I didn't ask my students to buy the book. I referred the book, but actually the book is a little bit for those like this comes to a very good question that who the book is for actually. So the book is for people who already have learned Flutter already and they're working with different sort of apps in Flutter. They have, consumed APIs, integrated Firebase, stuff like that. They already know Flutter, but now they want to get into some advanced topics and, learn proper architectural state management stuff. So that this book is specifically for them. So I don't think that students who are, undergrad and they actually know nothing about Flutter, it won't be a very beneficial book for them. But I still, refer them. I don't, impose a buying criteria for the book. So, no, I'm not earning double for that.
No, the reason I said it's because like in US, at least, the, one of the most expensive things about school is just the books itself. Like if you, whatever book the teacher requires, you have to get it. And you can get the second, you can get a secondhand one, which is significantly cheaper, but sometimes people just want a brand new one. But they say that you should probably go for a secondhand because secondhand, maybe the guy actually underlined a lot of the important pieces in the book and you have your notes prepared. But, that's why I was just making a quick joke about that because, maybe you say this book is, you have to have it for class. I don't know. So how are you actually teaching class though? Because usually when you have a university class, you usually actually do have a book. Are you like just telling people just go to the documentation and read it over there or how do you actually teach this?
Yeah. So this is something very new for the university as well, for the other teachers as well, for the students as well, and for me as well, because till now I have been giving, talks at different conferences. I just sell Flutter. I just code in front of them. I just tell them, look how cool it is and, go and try it at home. But this is a complete fully fledged course. So this was something different. So what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to give direction to the students actually. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to tell them that there is this thing called Flutter that is existing in the market and, why it's important and how to learn it. And then, giving them all the basic techniques of creating a Flutter app and then integrating things into that, creating the UI, all the basic stuff. And then, giving them assignments and all the projects that they can, themselves go to the documentation and learn it and, create things from that. So basically it's giving direction to the students that see this is something that is there and you should learn it and you should learn it because it's important. And then, telling them, like I have done a lot of basic classes as well. So I have just, I do it in a lab. So people have their PCs, their computers in front of them and they code with me. So I, since we have a lot of classes, so I take them by hand. So I code in front of them, I let them code and then they get some practice on it. And then I give assignments. So this is how, we are going for now. And let's see, how it turns out. If it's good, then I'll continue. Otherwise, I'll go for another strategy maybe.
Okay. Let's kind of roll back a little bit, right? Why did you actually get into Flutter to begin with? Where were you doing before that?
Like I said, I was working in a financial company, which is called TPS. So TPS is Transaction Processing System. So it's an abbreviation for that. And what it does, it creates solutions for banks. So the ATM transactions, the, fund transfers, all the logic that, they write here for banks in Pakistan. So I was working in that company and, I was working there in a mobile team actually. So we were working on Xamarin at first, which was the technology at that time. And we were quite okay with that. Since, however, it was very problematic at that time as well, but, it was good and it was creating apps and we were good with that. But then, suddenly Flutter came out in the beta version. Google announced it. Some conferences, started happening and we started seeing that, people are starting to use Flutter and market Flutter. Then me and my boss told me that, hey, this is something that we should try and this is something new. Then we started, creating UI on Flutter on our basis, like at home, studying it, creating some things, learning Flutter by documentation, me and my boss and our team, all of us. Then what happened that we thought that we should, actually pitch this to our company, like ask our company to switch the whole technology stack to Flutter. For that, what we did, we started coding our company's product mobile app on Flutter at home. Like we did this separately outside of office hours. So what we did is we tried to create the whole UI on Flutter in a very less amount of time. And then we told our company's management, see, this is what we have done in 1 month. The whole UI is, ready with everything. You just need to integrate the APIs. So that's how, they were intrigued by the whole power of Flutter. And then we told them that it's cross-platform, it's going to support multiple platforms in the future as well. So this is how we came up, and this was all before production. So, Flutter was pretty good and beta version as well. We tried to, create the whole application, a financial application on the go. So this was really cool. So this is how, we got into Flutter, then company adopted it and moved on with that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I really like that term cross-platform. I like to prefer the term multi-platform, because cross-platform, I mean, you and I have been developing for a while, right? I would say Xamarin's more cross-platform, or sorry, maybe we could say something more like React Native, where you have like this JavaScript piece in the middle. You kind of give up something, rather than with Flutter, you actually compile down the native code. You're not shipping a VM in between to kind of make it cross-platform. Do you also agree?
Yeah. So what I call Flutter is, like, since we in the developer market, cross-platform is the buzzword. So what I did was, in order to adjust, I named it as literal cross-platform. So it's literally cross-platform, like it's all over the platform. So what I did was this. Otherwise, yeah, it should be multi-platform. We should call it multi-platform.
Yeah, definitely. That's the term I go for. I remember I've seen that term recently, within the last 6 months or so. Okay, so you built the app, and business basically came back and said, okay, this is great. You should continue on this route, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So then, how do you actually transition the team, right? That you guys went from Xamarin to Flutter. I mean, it's still going to have a cost to it to make a change, right?
So what we did was, like, we didn't actually got the company's time for shifting it. We did it for the community. So basically, we started a community out of that. So our whole team was a part of the community. We started learning it ourselves, not because our company wanted to transition, but because we wanted to learn it. So automatically, our whole team became good at Flutter after some time, and then automatically the team was already transitioned to Flutter because they learned it with the community. So we didn't completely shift to Flutter, but the company said that you should now create new projects on Flutter. So whatever the previous ones were there, we used to maintain it on Xamarin. And since we were very good with Xamarin, so it took less time to maintain all the previous project, and obviously then the company also saw that there is less effort, less developer effort, less cost, less time. So everything in terms of cost was down with Flutter. So, they understood that as well.
Okay. And then, so I'm just trying to think. So you got into Flutter, and then you went kind of really into it, I suppose, right? Because you became GDE. Like, what was your process first you start with, I'm just trying to think about, I don't think I can have a perfect question to ask this kind of question, but it's like, how do you go from a user of Flutter to now a promoter of using Flutter?
Okay. So for this, I always tell people that I didn't go for a GDE. The GDE thing came to me. So this is what happened with me. So what I did was, like, the real motivation was whenever I went into a problem, like before using Flutter. This is before using Flutter. Whenever I went into a problem, I used to Google stuff, and I used to see articles written by people, Stack Overflow, Medium, and they used to solve big problems within minutes because somebody else has done that already. This motivated me to write articles for problems that I spent days on, so that other people should not spend days on. This was the initial motivation. Then I started writing articles for Xamarin as well, for Flutter as well. And then I started, helping the community. This was actually building up my profile for GD. I didn't know that. Like, I didn't know that I'm building a profile for GD, but GD actually wanted this. Like, the Google Developer Expert criteria is that you need to create an impact in the community using talks, using articles, using GitHub contributions, whatever you can. So this was what I was doing since a couple of years. So I gave talks as well to developers. I gave sessions as well, free of cost, all for the community. So this is how, then in my home city, there was an event in my home city, and somebody from the GDG group, like the Google Developer Group, came into my city, and his name is Josefa. So he's really a cool guy. He came to my city. He said, we are having a Google I/O in your city, and somebody recommended you for a Flutter talk. So would you like to give a talk? I said, of course. Then I gave a talk there, and then he learned about me, and he said that you should be a GDE because you are already prepared for that. So then I asked him, why, what is a GDE? I didn't know that. He explained me everything. Then he forwarded my profile to the Google's regional head of that time, which was Saad Hamid. And, then Saad approached me and he said that, you are fit for the GDE profile. You should apply for it. I said, okay, whatever you say, like, I don't know what's the process. Just tell me what to do. I'll do it. So he just told me, he just let me fill all the forms. He guided me what to write in the forms, how to give interviews. Then, interviews happened, and then, I became a GD. So I always tell people that the initial motivation of becoming a Google developer expert should not be becoming a Google developer expert. It should be serving the community. So, if you go for serving the community, you automatically get what you deserve. So, it's no point running behind GD because it's all the same. Like whatever I was doing before becoming a GD, I'm doing exactly the same thing after becoming a GD. So it's not post, it's not a privilege. It's just a tag by Google, and which says that, oh, you are working for the community. Here's your tag, and now you are an authentic person. So whatever you tell people, they'll listen to you because we are at your back. So this is what happened.
Okay. I'm actually kind of curious, like, what kinds of talks were you giving? Was it just like introducing Flutter to people in the community, or what kind of talks did you actually give?
Initially, yes. Initially, we were just introducing Flutter to the people because we thought that it's awesome. Not because we were sellers. We were not sellers of the Flutter platform. We were the actual consumers. We used it. We liked it. We thought it is cool, and Google actually implemented it as advertised. So, whatever Google advertised, it was working like as it is. No changes. It was working really cool. So then we were intrigued. Therefore, we were able to tell people that it's cool. So that's how we started, giving talks, holding conferences for people in Flutter. So in our city, we just saw that over the years, people have started, getting better at Flutter. So we started getting into advanced topic talks. So initially we were giving beginner level talks, introducing Flutter, how to set up, how to run, how to create UI, stuff like that. Then after some time, we started telling people how to integrate Google Maps, how to get into database, how to get into Firebase, how to get into API calling, stuff like that. And then to state management as well. So that's how we did it. It all depends upon the feedback that you get. If you get the feedback from the community that the person who came in the last event is there again in the next event, that means we have retention, and that means the person is now a little advanced. So we should go for the higher topic. So that's how we did it.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I think it's good to start off that way. I think even sadly, it's really weird because, like, to me and you, I feel like Flutter is very mature, very much like everybody knows about it. But in some communities, like you noticed, who just don't know about it, especially out here, people don't really know about it at all. If you say the word Flutter, they have no idea. So yeah, maybe, doing some initial kind of like, hey, this is what it is, and this is why you should do it. Like the code along. I remember when I did some very small meetups over here, I just would say, okay, shout out, oh, you want a button? Okay, what color do you want the button? And I would just live code this thing as they're kind of shouting stuff out. And they were just like, wow, that's really easy. And the code is very easy to read. And the whole audience is brand new to coding, And it's also funny, too, because the best, quote unquote, Flutter developer, I would say, is designers. That's been at least my thing. Like, I just let them go at it. I just show them button and how you change the button colors and container, all these things. And then they just start whipping up stuff. And like, for some reason, the designers are just better at making very beautiful UIs. Maybe it's because they have that designer sense. But like, most designers, like, they stay away from code, even HTML, CSS, but for some reason they just take to this like a duck to water. It's really interesting to watch them go ahead and go at it.
Yeah.
All right. So you started writing your articles, right? I'm kind of curious about, like, when you're making these notes. So you said initially these notes were for you, right? These kind of things, like today I learned kind of notes that you were making?
No.
Blog articles?
No, it wasn't not like that. It was like whatever I was, for suppose it goes like this. I came into a problem and then I tried to solve that problem, and it was not on the Google. It was not, nobody ever came, around it before. It took me 4 days to solve the problem. So now I know the steps that are required to solve it. So now it won't take, 4 days for me to solve it, because I know exactly all the steps that we need to perform. Write this code, write that code, change this thing, change that thing, download this, go there, step 1, 2, 3, 4. So what I did, all the 4 days that I did, I know what the steps are. I just write that down in an article and post it, so that somebody else, when he or she comes around the problem, so, they don't get to spend all the 4 days solving it. So that was the initial motivation.
Can you name a couple of problems that you solved? Because I'm trying to imagine how, like, if it's a bunch of steps, like, to me, that would sounds like something very niche in particular, maybe very specific to a specific problem. But, maybe you can give me an idea about what kind of problems that you were writing solutions for.
Okay, so initially, like, I have the whole Medium profile in which I've written a lot of articles. So initially, it's like what sort of problems people, face usually. So if somebody is starting Flutter right now, so probably most of the problems they are facing, they are going to have answers on the internet for that. They won't struggle with that, because people have already matured in Flutter. So all the initial problems, they are going to be solved for that. So what I did was, whenever I got into a problem, I Googled it. There was no such thing as, with my problem. So for example, in the initial days, there used to be a lot of issues with iOS, publishing stuff. So people, got very confused in publishing apps to iOS stores. And,
I just want to say, first of all, there's still a lot of problems with publishing, right? Because Apple always says, no, this is not good. Oh, no, this one, no, we can't do that. Sorry for breaking in, but just remind me of that.
Yeah. So we still have a lot of problems, but, they now it's like they are, pretty understandable. So what the problem is, when you encounter a problem now, the problem is pretty much explanatory, and there are a lot of explanations in that problem, so that where to look for. But initially, they were just rejecting, and even before uploading, there are a lot of problems how to sign stuff like that. So, and things keep changing, day to day. So that was something that I figured out. And one of the problems regarding publishing stuff that I figured out for Xamarin specific, because Xamarin has all the code in C#. So there was a little problem in publishing stores related to Xamarin that I figured out in a couple of days, and then I wrote an article for that. So it's just like similarly for Flutter, I wrote an article which was called callbacks and custom widgets and callbacks. So initially people were very struggling very hard to understand what callbacks are, how to use them, how to create a custom widget. Just like we use list style, we have onPressed, a callback, which gives us the on-tap functionality. So something like that, I tried to explain it in an article and in a YouTube video. So that's what I did as an example for Flutter.
Okay. And so after you wrote a bunch of these articles, you said then you got contacted, right? People kind of came up to you. I'm trying to remember what you said. Okay.
Yeah. After I wrote some articles, then, people started responding, and, they told me that, yeah, you're doing good work. And, it was a profile that was being maintained. There were views. People didn't actually contact me or told me that you're doing good or write more articles. No, I just wrote them, irrespective of the feedback that I got. So when that guy approached me from the GDG, he told me that you need these things in order to become a GDE. So I just showed him my profile that I used to write some articles. He said that's a lot of them. You can just go for the GDE thing directly, because when a person wants to be a GDE, they check their own profile whether they have enough impact, they have enough articles or not. I already had that, so that's how I went into that.
Okay, but kind of going back to the main topic, right? These articles also got you noticed by Packt, right?
I don't think so. Packt noticed me from the articles. They noticed me from LinkedIn. So I was pretty active on LinkedIn, community stuff, posting about Flutter, posting my articles on LinkedIn. And, I also have been speaking at a lot of conferences, both local and international. So I used to post about that as well. So then, Packt approached me from LinkedIn.
Oh, so basically you were getting approached because you're basically like an influencer, right?
Sort of, yeah.
Okay, because what I usually hear from people is like, if you're writing a lot about a certain topic, then a publisher will notice that, and then they'll say, "Oh, this guy, he can write. Let's get him aboard," because now everybody can write, right? Especially, I don't think English is your first language, right?
No, it's not my first language.
Writing in a second or third or fourth language, I don't know which it is in your case, takes a lot of effort, right?
Yeah. So English is my second language, and I maybe Packt, they researched on me. Maybe they did some research, because I used to mention all the articles as well in my LinkedIn profile. All the Medium articles that I ever wrote, I always post about them on my Twitter and LinkedIn. So maybe, just for the verification, they might have got into my Medium profile, saw how I, write articles. Maybe that would have motivated them, maybe. Because just like you said, the publishers don't usually approach people by just influence. They actually see that whether this guy can write or not. So maybe they jumped into my Medium.
I mean, it kind of depends, but I think you have to have at least some kind of following, right? Because, I mean, in my opinion, there's at least two things that sell a book. One, of course, is the topic. And I think state management alone in Flutter is already a very interesting topic, especially if you cover different ones and how they kind of work. That I think would be very popular because everybody wants to know which one's the best, and they just want to know in general. And then the second one is that if you have a following, that sells, right? So Obama, he wrote a book. He's in a good spot. He's in a good spot, right? So Clinton wrote a book. She's probably in a good spot. I think Bill Clinton also wrote one too. All these famous people, they retired and they'd write a book and then they get like $1 million in just in royalties. It's crazy. Sometimes even before it's even published. We could even talk about Spotify paid like I think $100 million to I think Prince Harry and his wife to do a podcast, which they are in the process of still trying to do. So they even got paid before they even set up everything. So if you're coming with an audience, it's even more valuable, right? So it kind of depends. So I can see that you have two. You have a little bit of a following, plus you also have a some writing samples, which lets them know this guy can write something. Okay, so like they connected with you on LinkedIn. Like, what kind of message was it? Was it just, hey, I'm X from Packt, and we're interested in seeing if you're interested to write a book, or kind of what was the message?
Yeah, it was just like that. Like, hey, this is me from Packt, and we want to write a book on state management. Do you want to do it? That was the initial message. That's it. Then I told them that, hey, I don't know how to write a book. Not even months. I've not written a book in my life. And then they started telling me that we'll help you out. You just have to write all the technical stuff that you use to write, just like Medium articles. You just need to write them. And that's all we want you to do. We'll take care of everything else. That's how, they told me to do it.
So, for some reason, I keep getting this vibe or this feeling from you that you're one of the few people who wrote a book who, doesn't seem to seem like it's a big deal, or not big deal, but that it was a big pain. I don't know. Everybody I talk to is like, please don't write a book. It's too painful. It's a very difficult process, but you seem like it's okay for you. Like, or am I misunderstanding? Like, was it painful for you, or was it actually pretty simple?
Till today, like till right now, I never knew that writing a book is a pain, like for other authors. Like you just told me that you have talk to other authors who says that no, don't write a book, it's painful. But no, it was not painful for me. I enjoyed it. Maybe probably because I could manage it well. Maybe I don't know. Like there could be a lot of reasons why I enjoyed it and why I'm giving a vibe of not being a big deal. But if people must want to know that how I wrote it, so that's what I told it in the last couple of podcasts as well, in conferences as well. So what I did was I didn't write it every day. So that's what I did. I didn't write it every day. I picked up parts of the book and I told myself that I need to finish it on the weekend. That's what I did. People can have different approaches, but I used to take out time on the weekend and then I just complete one single part or single chapter or, 2 chapters or whatever, whatever the case is. Since, one more reason could be I'm a Flutter developer. I've been writing Medium articles already. I know how to, insert code into in between, how to insert screenshots, stuff like that. So maybe, that was an addition to the comfortability that I had while writing a book. But no, it was not painful. It was not as painful as you are sounding right now. So no, it was not that bad.
I don't know. I think there's a couple things that make it painful. Like one is that sitting down for long periods of time and trying to pound out stuff takes time. Coming up with examples takes time. Trying to tell conveying the main point of what you're trying to say takes time, right? And let's just take all the creative parts that I just mentioned out of the equation. When you submit your stuff to the publisher and they come back with edits, that can also take time. I don't know how many rounds you had for this. So that all this stuff all just takes time. And I think, and you also have to find time too. And you seem quite young. I don't know if you have a family yet, but a lot of the authors I talk to have families. So, especially a lot of them for some weird reason seem to just have a kid around the same time. So they just had a newborn baby, the first one or second one, and they think it's a good time to write a book. And it's just not, it just takes a lot of effort, right? So it depends, right? So, I mean, for you, like I said, to me, you're one of the few people out there who was just like, no, it was fine. But for most people I talk to, no, they just say, no, I need to, it depends on your writing process. So you're saying your writing process is you basically just did it on the weekends only, right?
Yeah. So I had a lot of edits as well. So if you say that I just submit it and then, edits can come back and reviews come back from other authors as well, because people have to review it technically as well. And then the publishers have to review it according to the format as well, according to the language that I use. So almost all the things that I wrote and submitted to the publisher, they all came back with edits. Yes, they definitely came back with a lot of edits, but I never got bored of it, or I never got, I never took it to my ego that why is this person, telling me that this is wrong and this, I should not write this and I should not write that. Yeah, I saw it as an improvement. So because this was one opportunity that came to me. So most of the people, I think that they used to write books and they used to, write stuff and then take to publishers and then ask them to publish. So therefore, maybe that could be a reason they are, they're getting bored or they're getting, hectic. It gets hectic for them. This was an opportunity for me that came to me. So I obviously, took it as an opportunity, and it was a cool thing for me. Like I didn't go to them; they came to me. So it was obviously an encouragement for me. So therefore, maybe I am not, very, very much bored or fed up of it.
Okay. So I did want to ask one more thing, right? So you did this on the weekends. You didn't really stress about it. I mean, when you actually did sit down to write it, was the ideas already there, or were you just sitting in a chair and then kind of writer's block for a moment and then had inspiration and then start typing? Or were you just you sat down and then just started blasting away at the keyboard and you just had everything going?
It was both. At certain times, I had ideas on my mind already, and those ideas came to me when I was doing other stuff, like random stuff, walking, driving, something like that. So those ideas came to my mind at that time. And some of them, when I'm writing something that is critical or something that is philosophical or something that, that I need to explain in good English to the readers, that took, a little time. And then, I just sat down, write some stuff, and then I got up, walked a little bit, ideas came again, and then I sat down. So it was, a mix of both. But it was like that.
Okay. All right. That's good to hear. Why don't we actually start talking about your book in general, right? Actually, I just have one last question. How long did it actually take you to complete this book? Was it, at least a year, right? Or did it take longer than that?
It took me 7 months, 7 to 8 months.
Oh, I always heard like at least a year, but okay, 7 months. It's still some time. It takes time, right?
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Yeah. But it's only like 300 pages, I think, so it's not that thick. So, okay, makes sense. Still 7 months is some time. But all right, let's start talking about the book, right? So, the book is about, how to manage your data how to manage your state with, programmatically. So what does that actually mean? Like, how would you actually describe this?
So pragmatic means, the word pragmatic means, you do it differently. So the whole book is about how differently you can manage your states. And the whole basic idea is to learn what's inside the box in order to be able to think outside the box. That's the whole crux of the book. So you need to know all the different, not all, maybe most of the famous state management techniques that are out there. And then you need to understand them. And then you need to know how do they work so that you can know where to use them. That's it. That's the whole, one liner for the book.
Okay. Which state managements do you actually go over? So I believe I saw Riverpod and Block. That's using Flutter Block, right?
Yeah. So I went for Block, Riverpod, Provider, MobX, and GetX, and Getit. Maybe, Getit. Yeah. Inherited widget, inherited model, and maybe one more.
Okay, I see. All right. So is there like an order of like, how do you order your book in terms of like, where you start off at? So I'm guessing you probably start off with the stateless widget, then you go to stateful, and then like, what's the progression that you go in? Because I'm guessing you have to have some type of progression. Like, what is the journey, the map?
So basically, I didn't go from stateless to stateful. I started off with stateful because this was about state management. So, and I specifically mentioned in the book that this book is for people who already know Flutter. So the people who already know Flutter must know about stateless and stateful widgets. So we were just, I started off with set state, the most basic, technique. I started off with set state, and then I moved to inherited widget, inherited model, and then, the famous ones, the block, the provider, and then their variations, the Riverpod and the qubit. And then, the traditional distinctive, people have written like GetX, Getit, binder, stuff like that. So basically, this was how it went.
Okay. How did you come about choosing which state management solutions you wanted to actually go over? I think you like you said, you chose basically the top ones, I would say, in terms of popularity. But like MobX to me is not. I mean, is that one really popular? I don't know. I'm just trying to think about how you actually went through and chose which ones you wanted to show off.
Okay, so basically what I did was I chose the most popular ones, and then I just researched a bit and looked around for techniques that were mentioned, by Flutter people as well, by the community, by the GDEs. So everything, that was mentioned by someone, someone authentic, I just thought of picking that up. So MobX was one of, I'm using MobX in my company right now. So, and one more thing, this is a very important thing I always tell people. The state management is not the entire application. It's a very, very small part of your application. The whole idea is behind the good architecture that you write. So if you lay down a very good architecture, so state management is one part of it. So you can do any sort of state management with that as long as you write good code. So you can write a very messy app using a very good state management, and you can write a very good, extraordinary app using a very bad state management. It can be both ways. So it's all about the way how you code, the principles, the coding principles that you use. So state management is, just one part where you just manage how the state changes, how the reactions, how application responds to reactions. That's it. Other than that, it's all about architecture, layering down all the stuff. So it's all, and I wrote that in the book as well. So yeah, it's about the architecture.
Besides the author asking you to write this, I'm kind of curious because I don't quite hear it, which is like, what drives you to actually write this book? I mean, because people can ask you to write a book about anything, any topic, right? But I mean, you have to say, yes, okay, I think this is good for me to work on. Like, what was it that you're getting out of this? Like, are you just trying to show people the different types of state management? Or like, what is it that you're trying to prove? Because by your last statement with you saying it's a very small part of the app, I'm trying to say, like, what is it that you're getting out of this by showing and writing this book?
Okay. So, like I said, I've been working for the community since last, 4-5 years, and I've been writing articles. I've been writing a lot of stuff. So, I don't do it. Like, I don't do it as a business. So that's the main part of the deed. So it's a little philosophical. So it's all about if you are doing a good deed and you are expecting something in return, that means it's not a good deed, it's a business. So, I believe in that sort of philosophy. So it's basically, I didn't wanted anything from it. I didn't wanted to show people that I can write a book, or I didn't want to show that, a book can be written on state management. It could have been any topic that could have been suggested by me by publishers to me. It could have been any topic, but the whole idea was that it was Flutter, and I had worked on it. I was confident that I could write it, and maybe if somebody came up with an idea of me writing a book on a topic that I don't know anything about, I might have said no. Because, this was something that I was writing a book for the very first time. And the reason that I said yes was because I knew the topic. I have been given talks on state management previously as well. People have been asking me questions about state management as well previously. So this was, a little bit of the reason why I said yes, because I already knew the topic. And now if someone comes up to me and he says that you want to write a book, and for some weird topics, so yeah, I might say yes now, because I actually know how the book is written and how to interact with the publishers, what it's a process. So I know the whole domain process of the book writing. So now I can go for a new topic which I don't know about. But at that time, I could not have done that.
Okay. So this book, again, is for people who want to get more in depth about state management, right? So you talk about, how to use each one, pros and cons, I suppose. Okay. Is there anything else in the book that, that people should know that's in it, so they know this book is for them or not?
Yeah, I think I have told almost everything. Like, you need to be able to, like, this book also makes you learn how to read documentation, how to read stuff related to integrating a new package. So, you just go to the packages, the package homepage, you integrate the package, you learn about it, you look on the example code, then you pick it up, you integrate into your application. This is the whole journey that, that most of the time you will be looking at when you read the book. So when you read the book, you just like go for the first chapter. Okay, first chapter is introduction. What is the state? Why we are reading this? Why this book is written? What is the main, motive of writing this book? Then the second chapter, we are going to start with set state. Okay, set state. What is set state? Why do we need to have it? How set state works? And then creating a sample application from set state state management. And then, going down that path, and then inherited model, inherited widget, all the state management techniques, and example apps of all the techniques that are written, in the book. So this is how it goes. Like, first of all, you code an example application using all the techniques that are described in the book. And then in the second part, you start to build a shopping cart application, like not the whole fully fledged application, but a little shopping cart feature of application where you add items to the cart and they are reflected, over the whole application. So then again, starting from the very beginning set state, you start creating a fully fledged shopping cart application from set state, and then moving down to all the other, techniques that were discussed above using the example apps. So first of all, example apps and then shopping cart application using all techniques. This is how the book goes.
All right. Yeah, so I think the book overall seems to be really interesting. I need to take some time to actually crack it open and read it. It's definitely up my alley because I find state management to be a very interesting topic just because there's just so many ways to do it. And sometimes I question if I'm using the right one, because I think it kind of depends on, how you architecture your app, like we talked about, and, how your mindset goes, things like that. Yeah, so is there anything else you wanted to mention, about the book or about anything else?
Maybe one last thing. Like whenever, this is for general community, general developer community, people who are into entrepreneurship, people who are into building solutions. This is for everyone. So whenever a client comes to you, or whenever someone comes to you with a solution, like with a problem that he wants to build a certain app, a certain solution, a certain product. So you should not try to fit the technology that you know into that product. You should not do that. The product should drive the technology. The technology should not drive the product. So whatever the product's requirement is, the technology should be chosen based on that. And similarly goes with state management. If you come down to state management, whatever your product is, whatever your sort of application is, that application should decide what state management to use. Neither it should not go this way that I know block, so now I'll put block in every application. That's not how it goes. This will get you in trouble. This will get everyone in trouble. So this is one good thing that I learned by being in the community and around tech people. So you should not try to fit what you know into everything. You should try to learn what the requirement is. So that's how it goes.
But I think no matter what, everybody's going to have a bias, right? So you're not. I mean, what if the product somehow fits Xamarin better than Flutter? Would you actually drop Flutter instead and go to Xamarin?
Yeah, so in this example, we should research with the market, like what's the market is, what people are doing, and what the pros and cons of the technology. So if Xamarin is better than Flutter in a certain sort of use case, then yeah, you should go with Xamarin. But I don't think so that there would be any case where Xamarin would be better than Flutter, because it's all about user experience, developer experience, which Flutter has already gotten into. And there are some use cases where you have the decision straight away. You don't need to think about it. But there are some places where you need to think about it. So it depends on the case to case.
Cool. Okay, I think I have basically one last question for you. So I usually have another question, but it sounds like, so one of my questions I usually ask at the end is, which state management solution that you like to use? It sounds like you like to use MobX. Is that right?
No.
Really? You said you're using MobX. That's why I thought maybe that's your favorite.
Yeah, I'm using MobX in my company. But as I said, the application that we're building in my company, that is a very huge application. Like that's a blockchain-based application. So we have a lot of domain work in that. So state management doesn't really matter. We could have used any of the state management techniques. But yeah, I try to somehow see that if block or provider are going to work in a certain application, because block, you can have the control of the streams using block, and you can use, block for non-stream purposes as well. Block is, the bigger part, with the bigger thing in state management. So I try to see that if block or provider, they can, fit into the application or not. And if they both can't, then I, just choose something that fits the application. So in smaller applications, simple API calls, nothing fancy, simple UI, you can, use provider. I usually go with provider when I'm going for shorter applications. But if there are a lot of state management, there are a lot of user interactions, and, places where, you just tap on small things and whole application is changing. I prefer, some heavy state management like blog or something like that.
I guess my final question would just be, should be an easy question for you. Do you have any tips, tricks, or warnings you want to give to any types of beginners out there who are just starting their Flutter journey?
I should say that it's not about the framework. Like you should not, like all the young people who are, learning technology and learning frameworks, they should not go for learning Flutter specifically. They should learn the computer science concepts, the object-oriented programming, the algorithms, the logic building, because it's just syntax. It's all about syntax. Previously, around a couple of years ago, it was Java, it was Android native, it was Xamarin, and now it's Flutter. So it's just a framework change. So maybe after 5 years, we have something new. So we should, all the young students, all the people who are learning tech, they should not stick to one framework. They should try to learn concepts, and then they can learn any framework within very less period of time. So that's what, I should ask the people to do.
And with that, I think that's great. If you guys are interested in his book, you can get it at Packt. I think Packt's website is packt.com. You can probably also get it on Amazon. I bought mine on Amazon. I got it on Kindle before I actually pre-ordered it, so it came delivered. Just like every book I have, it just goes to my queue and I never get to it. But hopefully I can crack this one open because it definitely relates to my daily work, as I mentioned in the podcast earlier, that we work on Flutter apps for clients. And so it is important for me to check this one out. In any case, is there anything else you want to say before we sign off?
No, I guess it's really cool that, once again, I have been approached by a podcast person. So it's really cool. And I really thank you for that, because I'm not the sort of person who is into podcasts or YouTubing or video stuff. So I don't really know how much of the podcasters are there and how much of the people, follow this kind of stuff. So it's really cool that I'm being approached by people. So thank you so much for approaching me and, giving me this chance to express the whole journey of the book. So it's really cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I thank you. I thank you for writing the book, and thank you for making time for this. I know it's, some people have very busy schedules, but it seems like you're pretty relaxed, although you're doing lots of things. So I'm happy you can make the time for this.
No issues. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So maybe we'll have you on again in the future.
Thank you. Yes, of course. Bye.